Microsoft Edge. Is it coming to Linux? There is some evidence out there that suggests the Edge browser is actually going to be released on Linux. And if it is, would you use it? Should you use it? That's our topic for the day. So what sparked me to make this video today was I came across an article over at ghacks.net written by Martin Brinkman, Chromium-based Edge, Linux support, and IE integration. So basically, Martin here, in the Edge browser, if you type in a URL in the URL bar, edge://flags, you will see a list of, I guess, experimental features that are planned ahead, and you will see, as far as operating systems, Mac, Windows, and Linux, right here in the Edge browser. So that is kind of, I guess, a clue that maybe Microsoft is planning on releasing Edge on Linux. They have not stated that officially, and I think previously they said they had no plans to release the Edge browser on Linux. I do think they have committed to maybe releasing it on Mac. So what do I think about this? Would I use Microsoft Edge if it came to Linux? No, personally, I wouldn't use it. And I wouldn't use it not based on the fact that it's a Microsoft browser. I wouldn't use it because recently the Edge browser switched web engines. Originally, the Edge browser used Microsoft's own web engine. They called it the Chakra engine. But recently, Microsoft announced the Edge browser is switching web engines. They're going to start using basically the Chrome engine, the Blink engine. It is the fact that Microsoft Edge is moving to that Blink engine, basically the Google Chromium engine. I would not use that browser based on that fact. It has nothing to do with the fact that the browser is made by Microsoft. I don't care in this case that Microsoft makes that browser. I don't care if it's proprietary software or open source software. Well, I care, but that's not the deciding factor. It's the fact that it's going to use that Blink web engine, and I do not want to support basically Google's domination of the internet. I don't want to be a part of that. Now, I don't want to come off sounding like some sort of fanboy or evangelist, but I have to say, if you support free and open software, and if you support a free and open and accessible internet, then you need to support Mozilla Firefox. That's just the case. That's the facts. One of the big threats to the internet, maybe the biggest threat to the internet as we know it right now, is the recent switch of Microsoft Edge, essentially now using the Chrome web engine, the Blink web engines. So Chromium-based browsers now dominate the market share. Well, they've been dominating the market share, but now they dominate it that much more. So Google Chrome itself has over 70% of the desktop browser market share right now. Microsoft Edge has about 4% of that market share. Now it's based off of Chrome. Opera has 2% of the market share. It uses that same Blink web engine. And then, of course, you have the open source implementation of Google Chrome, Chromium, and various web browsers that are based off of Chromium. So you can add all that into the mix. More than 80% of you guys are viewing the web with web browsers based on the Chromium engine. And that is not good. Now, some of you are going to say, well, I use Chromium. I don't use Chrome. I use the open source Chromium. I don't care. This is not about licensing. My complaint against Chrome and these Chromium-based browsers is not about the licensing. I always recommend free and open source solutions rather than proprietary solutions, but in this case, it doesn't matter. All these web browsers use a web engine built by Google, that Blink web engine, and if you use a web browser that uses that Blink engine, you are basically helping Google dominate the web. Google can make whatever standards they want as far as web standards because they control the game. They basically run the show. So my complaint is not about licensing. If Microsoft Edge comes to Linux, it's going to be licensed under a proprietary license, but I wouldn't run Microsoft Edge because it's proprietary software. I mean, I don't care about the licensing in this case. I don't care that it's made by Microsoft. You guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Microsoft as a corporation, but I won't use Microsoft Edge on Linux just because it uses that Blink engine. That's just my take on the matter. For those of you around during the 1990s, you guys may remember the browser wars of the 90s. You guys remember when Internet Explorer finally overtook Netscape Navigator in popularity, due mainly to anti-competitive practices of Microsoft, when they basically made it almost impossible to use anything other than Internet Explorer in Windows. You couldn't uninstall Internet Explorer out of Windows. It was part of the Windows operating system. Anyway, Microsoft ended up being sued. There was an antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft. They lost that lawsuit, and Microsoft was very nearly broken up because it was considered a monopoly. But that's getting off topic. Anyway, Microsoft started implementing things in Internet Explorer back then that did not comply with web standards. So we had this weird situation where certain websites did not work properly on certain web browsers. And because Microsoft Internet Explorer had the dominant market share, many web devs built their sites to work on Internet Explorer, which again did not stick to web standards. So many webmasters went as far as adding a message, on the website. So if you went and viewed their website on something like Netscape or Opera, you got this annoying message telling you this site is best viewed in Internet Explorer, and you need to open up Internet Explorer, assuming you're using Windows. It's already there. Just open up Internet Explorer and use that. Why are you using some other browser? So we cannot let a giant company that does not respect web standards, not to mention does not respect your privacy and security, we can't let that company take control of the web. So the choice is clear. The choice has never been more clear. If you value freedom, if you value your privacy and security, you really should be using Firefox. I can hear some of you complaining, well, on certain sites, Chrome is faster. YouTube seems faster in Chrome. Google Docs works better in Chrome. Hangouts works better in Chrome. Of course, those are all Google services. Of course, they work better on Google's browser. Google designed those services to work on their browser. They want to lock you into using their browser. That's the point. And if you value your freedom, if you value your privacy and your security, you need to wean yourself off of the Google teat. Wean yourself off these proprietary Google services that many of you seemed to be chained to. Otherwise, you're just selling out your principles for mere convenience. So if this does come to fruition and Microsoft Edge is released on Linux, will I install it and check it out? Well, obviously, you guys by now should know the answer. No, I won't be checking it out. Honestly, if Microsoft had released the Edge browser on Linux, even if it's under a proprietary license, but if they had released it under the old engine that they use, Microsoft's own web engine called Chakra, I would have at least installed it and checked it out. But as is, now that it's based on the Google Chromium Blink engine, I don't need to check out Microsoft Edge, even if it comes to Linux, because it's just another Chromium browser. There's a million of them out there already. Nothing to see here. Before I go, this show was made possible by Ansem, Carlos, Chris, Douglas, Dylan, Leo, Rob, Robert, and Tony. They are the producers of the show. They are my highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. Without them, this show would not have been possible. The show's also brought to you by all those fine ladies and gentlemen. You guys see all those names on the screen that help support my work over on Patreon. Without these guys, again, this show would not be possible. I want to thank each and every one of them. If you'd like to consider supporting the channel, please do so. You'll find me at DistroTube over on Patreon. Peace, guys.